Hi everybody, welcome to the Manhattan School of Music. We are here for a very special hangout today, and I just wanted to say before we start a huge thank you to the Manhattan School of Music distance learning team. As you can see here in the room, we've got Bruce in the corner, Johannes doing the sound, and Gabe behind the camera. Gabe, wave to somebody. Yay! Thank you all for joining us, and the reason we are all here is because of this wonderful man in front of me, Phil Myers, principal horn of the New York Philharmonic. Welcome. Welcome to Manhattan School of Music. And for getting up so early.
Oh, that's true.
You've been a bit under the weather, so I was very happy that you actually made it here today.
Yeah, I got the early flu.
The early flu. You can't get the early flu when the weather's so nice.
The doctor tells me now that you should be getting your shots in June, for God's sake.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Yeah. So
okay, well, you obviously didn't. Well, we're very happy to have you here.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to this hangout. There's a lot of very excited people out there. Venezuela, Norway, all over America, Australia, my mum in London. Fergus McWilliams just written and said hi. He's at the new the La Parka Meridian. All my colleagues are watching from there. And actually, we have people watching all over the place, and some of them sent in a little early morning good morning greeting. Bruce, you got it ready for us? Have a look here.
Hi, Phil. Thanks for everything. You're amazing. Thank you. And have a great horn hang. We can't wait to watch it with you and Sarah.
Congratulations! I haven't seen you since your election. Congratulations!
Oh yeah, congratulations, Jeff, on your election as president of the International Horn Society. Jeff Nelson, all the students at IU, they're all watching this morning. Phil, you are a legend for all of us in the horn world. We were just talking about who knows who, and you said when you get past a certain point you lose track of who's playing what, but everybody knows who Phil Myers is.
That's called being old.
Being old.
That's not legend. That's old.
That's not old. We horn players stay young forever. And we wanted to get. There's all sorts of questions coming in here in the chat, and we can Google a lot of stuff about you. Your career in a nutshell. You actually chose the horn. You circled the horn on a piece of paper when you were playing the trombone. Is this true? This story?
Yeah.
You were asked what instrument you wanted to play. You were playing the trombone, but you circled the French horn.
I like the sound of the name.
Oh, the French horn.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you like the sound of the horn when you got one in your hand?
I knew the sound of the horn. My father was band director, so I knew all that stuff. But I don't know. That day was crucial. Really. I mean, you realize that if you spend 30 or 40 years playing French horn, and you spend 30 or 40 years playing trombone, that there ends up being a divide of about 40 points of IQ. I think that trombone just destroys your IQ as you go along. So
why is that?
I've never figured that out.
Any trombone players watching? We want you to write in and comment on that. So, would you, knowing everything you know today, would you circle the French horn again on that piece of paper, or would you decide to play something else next time around?
No, if you'd asked me that up to the age of 20, I might have told you that saxophone has always appealed to me. But when I was 20, Myron Bloom sort of made me realize what was there for the horn in terms of emotional impact.
You said something very interesting in an interview that I saw. You said in those days, there wasn't all that much out there for you to. You had the Dennis Brain recording, and you had Myron Bloom. There wasn't actually that much out there to sort of attach onto and say, that's what I want to be. That's what I want to be like.
Well, and that's what we did. I mean, I studied with Dale. I studied with Myron. I probably got to hear both of them live maybe 40 times each, right? But, man, I've got twice that many records of both of them. And I think I was like a record. I bought records like mad. And
you still have them all?
Not the LPs. I replaced them with CDs. But I sold them to one guy, and he still has them, and I probably will get them back. But because some
they're coming back in now.
Some of them sound better.
Yeah.
Some of them just sound better. Some don't. Some do. But yeah, no, I was a record junkie. Still am. Sometimes if we play a concert that I feel has gone particularly badly, for the ensemble, not for me individually, but for the ensemble, I'll go home and put on like my favorite record of that piece and just listen to it right then and there, just sort of get back in the groove. Yeah.
Just to inspire you for the next time. Otherwise, we really do remember the last time we played something. It's not always that healthy, is it?
No.
We're only as good as our last concert.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm that severe.
So you started the horn. Your dad was a bandmaster, and you started the horn because you liked the sound of the name. And then you went to study properly. You went to Chicago to study with Dale, and he charged $20 a lesson. Outrageous.
He thought it was.
He thought it was. Yeah, I'm
kept,
sure your dad thought it was.
Well, he kept apologizing for it. No, you know, my father. I mean, we didn't know. That was just my sister had studied with the first bassoon player, so he was used to putting out money. Leonard Sharrow was the bassoon player's name. And I actually started out with Frank Brauch in Chicago. He was the first horn player for between Farkas and Clevenger, they went through a few horn players.
Did you ever study with Farkas? No.
No, he left. In fact, we went to a concert when I was in junior high, and my father said, if he was staying in town, you would have studied with him. But he was going to IU. Now, Chicago was 110 miles. IU was 160 miles, and that extra 50 miles was just enough that my father said, no, we're not driving down there.
Well, how was it with Dale? You got.
Well, you know, I mean, the big thing. I mean, this. I hope he doesn't disagree with this, but basically, Dale said to me, in more or less kind terms, you know, you've got more problems than I want to deal with.
That's very kind. And
my teacher deals with these problems. The man I studied with, Forrest Stanley. So you should go study with him. And that was the best favor Dale ever did for me, because it was quite right. I mean, I had a lot of fundamental problems, and this guy was able to help me with most of them.
Well, Dale actually wanted to say something today. Have a look at this.
Hello, everybody in the horn world. I'm Dale Clevenger, and I'm being filmed by Andrew Bain, the first horn of the Los Angeles Philharmonic, Phil Myers, who was my very first student. He was about 17 or 18, and I was just 26 or so, just gotten in the Chicago Symphony, and this very tall, thin young man came from Indiana to have some lessons with me. I don't remember how many he had, but he had several, and he was extremely talented at that time, and I knew he would go far. I did not know just how far he would go, but I congratulate Phil on his many years playing professionally in the New York Philharmonic, and before that in the Pittsburgh Symphony, and I think a while in the Minneapolis Orchestra, or the Minnesota Orchestra. But Phil, I wish you well, and I hope to see you sometime soon.
Well,
isn't that nice?
Very nice, and I got to say this. While that's maybe a little more positive about me than he was in most of my lessons, the thing about Dale was very, 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 very kind about giving you access to his information. But from the time, like he said, from the time I was 17, but all through my professional life, I was able to go see him, because my parents still lived 100 miles away, and I would go in and see him and hear him, and he was really a reference point, my entire career.
Well, he was really excited to do that, and he's playing third horn in LA Philharmonic at the moment. So thanks, Andrew Bain. Thank you if you're watching. Thank you for organizing that video, and thank you, Dale, for doing that. So it's a little bit like This Is Your Life.
Right.
So, but what we got to do, we have so many questions coming in from the online audience. You guys keep them coming. If I don't get to that, I probably won't get to them all, as you know. But Phil is going to get a copy of the chat after this, so he can see who's out there and who's writing to him, and we'll read them all, won't you, Phil? Phil. Yeah. I'm just going to fire a few of the online questions at you, and there we go. Kyle Coe. Kyle, where are you writing in from? Wants to know what your favorite record was, because we were just talking about records. I guess it's impossible to say.
No, in my generation, everybody's favorite record was the 4 Mozarts with Brain. And I would tell you that I listened to that record so many times that, you know, for instance, we're doing Mozart's 4th this year and Mozart's 2nd next year. It's impossible for me to play those pieces and not reference that memory. I mean, that record just burned into my mind. Mm-hmm. So I would say that was my early favorite first record. Yeah.
That was okay. Well, that's.
I mean, hardly.
For me too.
Hardly an individual choice, but I mean that's yeah.
For me too. Wilbert Kimple said, "Did Forrest Stanley help you most with technique or musicianship? When did you study with Forrest Stanley?"
That was Clevenger.
That was Clevenger. That was the guy. Yeah.
So
that was like after you'd started with Dale, and he sent you there.
That's right. I studied with him from '67 to '71, and. Those dates even scare her. No, he was. You know, you can only do so much musically if you're totally challenged by the instrument technically, and I was. I just had. You know, he had to change the way I breathed.
Well, yeah, what were you challenged with? Because I mean, all the students, all of us, we all go through the same things. We all have the same challenges as horn players. Some people are better at some things. I read that you said you were better at loud playing than quiet playing, so you built on that.
I was when I began to audition, but at college, my 2 big problems were I couldn't articulate clearly. Every time I went to articulate, I got, and this went on for like a couple of years of college. So I was concerned because it hadn't been addressed yet. And when it was, then his solution to that for me was so radical to me. I think I was fairly willing to experiment with things that had been suggested to me. But looking back on it, I think that I was very slow to experiment on my own with tongue position or something like that. So it was that, and then he literally, I couldn't play high because I had a particular embouchure thing that had.
You were pressing too hard.
I was setting wrong. I was setting.
You were setting wrong.
I was setting wrong. I was literally in the wrong position this way.
Yeah.
And he changed that, and for 4 months, in my junior year, I couldn't play a note. I mean, it was. Scary, very scary.
That's not a good time of life to not be able to play a note. That's the time of life you want to be inspired and love what you're doing. And
No, I was scared. I was scared. But you know what? I came out of that, and I could only play high. And so you know, he'd got my breathing set up, he'd got my tongue set up, and now I could play high. So I thought, wow, you know, maybe I've actually got a chance of doing this. Because up to that point, I didn't feel that I did. I thought if I go into an audition, all my weaknesses are going to be just too obvious. So I'm not going to get anywhere. But after that, I started to think, you know, if I work, maybe I've got a chance.
Parco said your high range is amazing, Phil. How did you develop it? With the breathing, with the resetting? Then we've got...
You know, I grew up.
All these compliments, Phil. You're going to have to take it. They're coming in fast and furious.
No. I grew up in a time when the mantra was that everybody should play 2/3 upper and 1/3 lower, and it turned out that did not work for me. That I tend to do 1/3 upper and 2/3 lower, and that was a change I made, where I couldn't play for 4 months, and I was scared to death because I mean it was just like. That Farkas book at the time was like the Bible. And if you went against anything in that, you were really on your own. But I had my teacher helping me, Stanley, and you know, it worked for me. So I would tell him, you know, if you're having trouble with your high register, at least entertain the idea of experimenting with the position of the mouthpiece on your mouth. Just at least entertain the idea. You know.
Is there a melody or piece that you listen to or melody or you piece or you listen to or play that is therapeutic for you? Somebody called Dando. Hey, you guys, when you write in your questions, write in where you're writing from, because we'd really like to know where in the world you are. That would be great.
I played 4 years third horn in Pittsburgh. And when I left there and went to Minnesota, I was scared. So before I'd go to work, I would put on the Cleveland Orchestra recording of Bruckner 8th and listen to the end of the third movement, because he plays it so beautifully. Meyerblum, and then the beginning of the last movement. And then I would feel as though those two things had framed what I believed in. And then I'd go out and try and do the same thing.
Oh, a real mantra. Myron Bloom was a mantra. I know that recording. Unbelievably beautiful.
Yeah. Well, he was able to play over rests.
Over rests.
Yeah.
Can you just explain that for people who are wondering?
I mean, here's the phrase. He goes. Yeah. Well, a better example is Mahler 9, which he also recorded. Quite often you hear this solo. Below, 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 and when he played that, it was below, below. It never stops. It never stops. You know, by the same token, I heard Dale do some just wild. I'll never forget hearing him go, Dvorak Cello Concerto. And he goes, and he waited just that long. And I was in the audience, and you saw everybody in the audience.
Do you hear that a lot these days? Do you think, because I sometimes worry that that's disappearing, that those sort of incredible special moments sometimes disappear because everyone's so worried about being perfect all the time. Do you know what I mean? Say yes.
Well, no. I think what I'm thinking is this. There's no way to communicate the emotion of a piece to an audience if you yourself don't feel it and aren't moved by it and reacting to it. So I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm trying to share what I'm feeling. And hopefully somebody at the end of the concert will come up and say, my God, that that has nothing to do with Phil Myers. It just has to do with the idea that the guy had and what it means to me, and can I share that, and does it hit somebody else? That's all. Mm-hmm. That's all. But it's got to start with, God damn, this excites me. This excites me. You know, I think it's got to start there. Mm. Yeah. I want to ask you all my questions, but I'm feeling a bit. And just guys, people are saying they can't on the chat. They can't hear Dale very well. Can you bump up his audio a little bit? Sorry about that. He's probably banging away on on the microphone. There you go. Hope that's okay. Let us know if it's not okay. Luis Vieira is watching. He's actually our academist in Berlin. So hi, Luis. And he said, how do you play with such a big sound that's so round and free? Tell us your secret. I ask you lovely questions at this time in the morning, huh? Well, no, I'd say a couple things. Dale, again, if in this interview we happen to come upon an idea that I think I actually thought of, then I'll tell you. But most of these things came from other people. Dale told me that he felt that the lower lip should be applied to the mouthpiece softly, and I think that's a very big deal. At least it's a very big deal for me. That's number one. Number two, there's a difference between blowing as if you're going to blow out a candle and blowing as if you're going to warm your hands. And I tend, when I'm playing loud...
Can we do that again? Everybody? So, I'm blowing out a candle.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's sort of cold.
Yeah.
And this is sort of warm. It just has to do with your tongue position in your mouth. You know, you're dropping your tongue position in your mouth. Not when you attack, but after you're going. So I think I use that a lot in loud. I think that keeps it warm. Yeah, probably those. Well, there's one other thing, and that's this. Can I?
Yes, it's if you dare. We actually just put that out there for decoration. But quick, take a screenshot, guys. Phil's playing on my Alexander. Quick. Tweet it. Hashtag the horn hangout.
Where am I here?
There.
Is that B flat?
That's in B flat. If you
All right.
push, yeah.
All right. So if I do this. And I go to that lower position. I don't know how much sound you guys can take, but I'm about to play a little bit loud, okay? So if I go like this, and I don't manipulate it, I just play it here. Then I can go, and you hear that has a brassy, hard edge to it.
I think not only we heard it in here. I think
Yeah.
everyone all around the world heard it.
That's not something you could use in an orchestra.
No.
Couldn't use it. But if I go into that pull down position, then I can take that same note and go from here. Well, no, okay, I'm gonna surrender here, and go go to another mouthpiece.
Tell us, because the question will come. What mouthpiece do you play on, Phil?
I play a Stork Custom M1.
A Stork Custom M1. Okay.
And it's quite. I mean, wouldn't you say that's on the deep side?
Oh yes.
I mean, if you look down it.
Down it. That's mine. That's Phil's. Oh, you see my breakfast down there, probably.
Look the other way. That's fairly deep, right?
Yeah, that's hard to get in there. Here. That's hard there. You get in there? Yeah, sorry, these poor guys were throwing everything at you guys this morning. Yeah, that is pretty deep, I must say.
So
my God, it's huge. It's huge.
Yeah. So that tends
thanks.
That also
Bruce.
tends to take.
So that will take a lot of air.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Well, not that. Yeah, okay, that's
Okay.
different. Yeah. See how that stays? That doesn't have that brassy edge.
Well, maybe it's my mouthpiece. It's Fergus's mouthpiece.
Well, I'm just used to this one.
Yeah,
But you know, it's true. This is a big mouthpiece. But I before I begin to play, I always put my lips together really consciously. I almost say hup.
Hup.
So that I know those lips are together. Before, I don't want to go on the mouthpiece and have those lips trapped apart. So before I totally go on the mouthpiece, I'll go.
Yeah.
No, I don't sit there and verbalize that. I don't think the bassoon player would enjoy that much if they were constantly hearing hup behind. But if I go, I've done hup, and that keeps my lips together, and I think that makes the larger whole viable.
Somebody just asked, what do you think about before you play a big solo or a big note? You're probably thinking hup. You put it back. That's our decoration, Phil. You got to put it back on the table.
You know.
Thank you.
You know what? If you know how if you've got a lot of ideas running around in your head, it's hard to listen to what somebody else is saying. So before I play a solo, what I want is to feel almost blank, so that I can receive the input of the music. That's what I want to feel. I want to feel still and empty. In fact, I will tell you that in all my relationships, the first thing that I've told women is, if I'm going to a concert, that's not the time for a difficult discussion.
Leave me alone. Yeah.
You know, just I'm willing to talk to you, 16 hours in the day about stuff that's bothering you. But I have to have some hope of having sort of a blank sheet when I go into this concert. Otherwise, I can't respond to what I'm hearing.
What about this? We've all got this. We've got the part of our brain that's being peaceful and sort of saying, "Okay, first valve, take a breath." We've got the other half that's going, "Oh my God!" How do you keep that still on stage? That's before you prepare beforehand by keeping yourself still. When you're just about to do it,
what would you describe that feeling to be? If you're feeling nervous, what do you consider? Okay, wait a minute.
There's different phases of feeling nervous.
Okay. First of all, let me just say this.
Because a lot of people have asked this. How can I prepare? How can I feel better?
Let me just say two things. Number one, I try and have a very strong sense of purpose about what I'm trying to do. But the second thing is this: if I was going to go out there and I was going to be nervous as hell, I just take Enderol. I just take drugs. Absolutely, just take drugs. I mean, it's in 1988, I had an operation and I couldn't play for 3 months. And when I came back, I got set up wrong. It was really crazy, but I did. And we went on a tour where we were playing Bruckner 4 and Schoenberg Chamber Symphony. And what I did to those pieces was humiliating. All over Europe, 5 weeks of misery. Right? And it took me like 2 months after I got back to New York to realize what I'd done and get straightened out again. I would not have survived that trip without drugs. I wouldn't have been able to fight my way on stage.
We're not talking we're not talking drugs.
Inderol. Or propranolol or whatever you name it. Okay. The beta blocker.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely what I'm talking about. No, I've never taken.
It's very unusual that you talk about this because it's something that really no one ever talks about, and certainly not something you would really encourage students to do. But I guess if you're a professional and having a rough time, what do you have to do? You have to pay the rent.
Well, I would say. Let me give you two scenarios. Students coming out of college, and they're really quite good. And they're really quite talented, but they're not having any luck in auditions because they get too nervous. Now, are you going to say to that kid, are you going to say to that person, you don't take Enderol, but you can flip hamburgers for the rest of your life? Or are you going to say to that person, try it and see if it helps? Don't make a lifetime commitment. When you take an aspirin for your headache, you're not saying I'm going to take an aspirin every day for the rest of my life. You're going to say I'm taking it as long as I need it.
So why do you think people are so against?
God damn, I don't know. I mean, the other thing is this: what if you had like 3 kids and a husband, and you were their main source of support, and all of a sudden you started being nervous on stage, and those 3 kids want to go to college, and it's dependent on your money, and you're scared to go out there. Now, are you going to go out? Are you going to go home and say to those 3 kids, sorry, you can't go to college because
I'm going to flip hamburgers.
I'm afraid to try this drug. I'm afraid to try it, not take it. Not. Again, you're not making. Whenever you're trying something like that, you're not making a lifetime commitment. You're saying I'm going to try it and see if it helps me. And the first place I would try it is in front of the TV set. I'd sit down with my favorite show, pop a pill, and see what you feel. And what you're going to find out is you feel nothing. You don't feel anything. And then try it in a rehearsal. Then try it in a concert. Don't try it for the first time in an audition, for Christ's sake.
No. Well, Victoria Matthews, she's one of the MSM guys downstairs watching. What anxiety issues do you have and how do you deal with them? Well, then that's answered that was. Wagner Felix from São Paulo, Brazil. Mr. Myers, you are such an inspiration for all brass players. What's your inspiration on a daily basis?
Oh, I think I love records. I love recordings. And I mean, if I'm feeling uninspired, if I'm feeling like I'm in some kind of rut where I'm not excited about things as much as I think I should, then I go back to some of these records that I know that I can count on. Dale playing Mauer 6, Myron playing Turk in Italy, my God, or the Mozart Divertimento No. 2. I mean, these things, if they don't get you going, nothing will.
And you'll listen to them really like Myron's Bruckner 8. You'll listen to them before you go out there. That's your inspiration.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I had a good question here. Jill Williams is in Hanover. She wants to know if you would live in any other city and still play. If you could live in any other city, because I like these questions that aren't only only about playing the horn?
I never thought I'd live in New York, and New York is not natural to me because New York is a very aggressive place. And I grew up near Chicago. It's not like that out there at all. So I mean, if I had my choice, it would have been somewhere where it was warm all the time. I don't like cold.
No.
So I mean, if there'd been, I tried out for an orchestra down south and won the audition, but then my orchestra I was in wouldn't release me. But I always thought I would have been happy.
Didn't you do some amazing deal? Your own orchestra, you did a deal with them that they paid you extra and then you left in the end. And I read something. What was that?
Yeah, it was bad. No, that was a bad deal. No, I feel bad about that.
Well, you had to get out. You went to New York.
That's what happened. I went to Minnesota, and they waited a year for me because Pittsburgh would not let people out of their contracts. So they had to wait a year. So they waited a year, and then I asked for a 3-year contract, guaranteed. So if I was not such a confident guy. I thought, well, if they fire me after a year, then I still have 2 years of income where I can audition for a couple of years and maybe try and get another job.
That's really sweet. You really did not. you really did not expect to get another job for 2 years. That is true modesty, guys. Really unbelievable.
So after half a year, I got the New York job. So I went into the guy and I said, you waited for me for a year. You gave me a 3-year contract, and I want to leave after 6 months. And the guy said. That's really, and remember, because this is Midwest. I grew up in the Midwest. He said, this is not right. And I said, you're right, it's not right. But if you were in my shoes, what would you do? Mm-hmm. And he said, well, yeah, okay, you got to do it.
And now the questions come in. Kendall Gray, who's a regular Horn Hangout watcher. Hi, Kendall. Phil has a great story about interacting with James Chambers after an unsuccessful New York Phil audition. Please ask him to tell it.
It was my audition for this job. I came and a lot of us were out in the world trying to be James Chambers 2 or Myron Bloom 2. That was a definite goal of a lot of us back then, and I was one of them. So I came and auditioned here, and I played very badly. And he was walking me back to the room. And I just wanted to tell him how much I admired him. So I said, I know that you can't get this out of what I just did. But I said, there are a lot of us out there that are just trying to emulate what you did. And he said to me, he says, I have no reason whatsoever to think that that's true. Now, he wouldn't admit. Later, he would not admit that he said that. But that is indeed what he said. And I thought, man, that made me feel even worse. Because I thought, this guy's just listening to 25 people try out for this job. That are supposedly the 25 people in the United States. And his conclusion is that his legacy is zero. Oh. Yeah, it made me feel very bad.
Oh, but you got the job, 1980?
Yeah.
And there's been this is a good question actually. Eric Kapritsky, quite a lot of change with the retirement of Phil Smith. How was the New York Phil brass section handling that? I guess life goes on, but still, it's a total legend.
I miss him. We played in brass quintet together for an awfully long time, and yeah, I'm really sorry he's gone. But, life does go on. I mean, here's the thing, and it's really scary, but it's true. This season's been going now. This is the first year he's truly been gone. We've been back 3-4 weeks. I've never heard anybody mention him. His name hasn't come up.
Gosh.
And that's just the way it is.
That's the way it is.
We had a clarinet player that was here for 60 years. As soon as he was gone, I've never heard anybody talk about him. It's just, when you're gone, you're gone.
Well, thanks to YouTube and Horn Hangouts and everything, you don't go. You've got. How long? What are you going to play till you're 100?
The instrument decides.
Yeah,
that.
the instrument decides that.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's not telling you that yet, I hope.
Well, I don't think it is, but I'm not. I don't know. From what I've seen, you don't always know. And you know what? You can't trust anybody. Nobody will tell you that you've lost it. But I do have a rather truthful wife, and I have a feeling that there's at least a chance.
Always ask your wife.
She might tell me the truth.
Phil and everybody online. Hey, you guys, we, I don't know if you can see the room here. Can you show the room? We've got some very welcome guests have just come in. Can you see? Yeah, hi guys, it's the horn section of the New York Philharmonic, and thank you for getting up so early. Come on in, you're all welcome. How are we going to do this? We're going to put you on that. Just talk amongst yourselves. There we go. There we go. Talk amongst yourselves in the horn hangout world. I hope you guys are tweeting. We'd like to see where you're watching from. So get a screenshot or get a selfie of you guys in front of it and tweet it with the hashtag horn hangout, and then we can see afterwards where everyone's watching. You guys have been watching downstairs. And isn't he a genius? Let me just introduce everyone to you. Al Spanja, second horn since 1992. So you came actually, you've been in the section second longest. Stop looking at everyone over there, Phil. Yeah,
that's very interesting.
We've got a big screen here where we can see ourselves. It's a little bit, it's really incredibly. Actually, Tim Kelly, who's watching, you all know Tim, my genius webmaster, he's watching in Melbourne, and he and I are so impressed with the setup here at Manhattan. I think we need to do horn hangouts here all the time, guys, and move Tim over to New York, and me too. Anyway, Al, thank you for coming. Thank you. Did you have to get up very early this morning?
No earlier than usual.
No earlier than usual?
5:30 to walk the dog. So.
5:30, oh, okay.
You got a puppy?
Oh, sweet. What sort of a puppy?
A hound mix in Tennessee.
Is that going to be a really huge thing?
No, actually, she's pretty small.
Okay. 5:30 to walk the dog. Howard Wall, welcome. One of my favorite low horn players of all time. Did you have to walk the dog at 5:30 this morning?
I did not. I got up about 7:30.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Did you guys have a concert last night?
We did.
You had Nielsen again. Nielsen.
Exactly. Well said.
Nielsen is
Nielsen
rather
again.
painful. So they work you hard in this band. Mahler won, and then Nielsen. Ooh. Leilani Sterrett, thank you so much. Really, a round of applause in the horn world for Leilani. Because not only is she the new third horn of the New York Phil, without you, none of this would happen. How did you manage to get your section to come in at this time of the morning?
They're really nice. Yeah, they were happy to do it. Yeah.
Thank you so much for all the organizing. Richard Dean, you're the new boy.
Right.
You're the new boy. How long have you been in there? 3 weeks. 3 weeks.
3 whole weeks.
So you had no choice. You had to get up at this time of the morning.
I did. Lily said you're going to be here at 9.
Yeah. So who's the real boss of the section, actually? I mean,
We consider the rest of us are so old that she's the only one that actually has upward mobility.
upward mobility? Well, she certainly gets.
She's the only one that's got a future. The rest of us only have a past.
Oh, come on! You guys aren't that old. Look at you. You're
Howard and I are the same age.
You
Exactly.
studied together.
Yeah.
We did, yes.
Do you have any good stories about Phil when he was studying? The ones you can tell. I've been asking everyone for their stories about Phil. Most of them I can't mention online.
Haven't changed a bit, right? Same guy I was then.
Really, he truly is. He
Yeah.
truly is same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is he.
Did you hang out together?
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, we
Yeah?
did, yes.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. We have, every Monday night, we had orchestra, and I would, I lived in Pittsburgh, so I had access to a car sometimes, and I would drive him and another horn player home, and we'd just sit there for like an hour in the car and tell these same jokes over and over again every week.
Are you still telling the same jokes today?
No.
No? Oh.
We could be, I just don't remember what. I didn't remember them from week to week then, so I sure don't remember them now.
And did you always play second, or did you guys play always high horn, low horn, or did you mix it up a bit?
No. My band director was angry at me, so I played fourth horn most of my college career. I was playing fourth horn, which worked out for me. Because I was working on so many technical things that if I'd had to like actually be meeting some demands, it would have been, not good. So.
Al, you came to the section. You've been in the section second longest.
Mm-hmm.
So we need. You've got the best stories, or the most stories to tell about Phil. So what are you going to tell us today?
There are a lot of stories.
I'd rather hear a story about you.
We'll do that on another hangout.
My first tour was 85, so it's almost 30 years ago.
Wow.
And Phil's sense of adventure has never abated a bit. And so we're in Frankfurt, and he's renting a car. So we're going to go to Alexander's before a rehearsal. So both of us hop in the car, and we go down there, which is really cool and interesting. And so we're heading back for rehearsal. We have these little maps in the tour book And the hall's right at the edge of the map. So we're driving around Frankfurt looking for the hall, and we can't find it.
And no GPS in those days.
So I was like, how are we going to find this hall? So, okay, somebody has to get out and get in a taxi. Tell the taxi who will know where it is, and we'll follow. So
in German.
One guy, well, exactly. So one guy gets out, gets in a taxi disappears.
Couldn't keep up with him.
Oh, okay.
Okay, another guy gets out, gets in a taxi, disappears.
Couldn't keep up with him. Same damn thing.
So he says, okay, Spander, this is it. So I get out, and I get in a taxi, and somehow
We run out of
I
people.
make the guy realize that these people have to follow us. And it worked out. And we all got there. Of course, half the horn section was late. It was not a good thing. It was like the sense of adventure has never stopped. So it's always worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, he played with us like, how many years before you were in this section?
7 years. It'll be almost 30. It'll be 30 years
Yeah.
next month.
God, absolute record.
Someone's just written, Sean has written, do you remember the 1986 Alpine Symphony with Zubin Mehta? One of your favorites. You weren't on that. You were on that. You were on that.
Yeah, I was doing
You were on
that.
that?
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. You know what? I'll tell you. Nobody did Strauss like that guy. It's just mood.
I thought you didn't like conductors.
From mood to mood to mood. No, that's not true.
Zubin, you did a lot with Zubin though. He was
Yeah,
The good
yeah.
stuff.
the good
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, it's a comparative thing.
He is.
Yeah.
He is incredible.
Yeah.
He really is.
That 85 tour was Mahler 5 and Symphony Domestic. And the next tour was held in Leyland. I mean,
He
loved
just
it.
threw it out.
He did him, boy. He did him.
Showpieces.
Yeah, that's right. You went out and you felt like you were showing off.
Was he nice to horns?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, very.
Yeah. He still
Very.
is actually.
You know what? When I joined, the second week I was here, he went out of his way to just say to the orchestra, "This is the guy." And I thought, wow.
But
this
you were
is
on
so-
trial still.
So yeah, I thought this is so kind of him to sort of get everybody behind me like second week in the job.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was he was a smart guy.
So Phil has a sense of adventure. What is the most adventurous thing about playing second horn to him?
Just keep it up with him. I mean, I figure over 30 years, we played like all the major rep, everything, over and over and over. So it's just always having the sense of I know exactly what's going to happen. And discovering that, starting out, he was always very clear about what was needed, and I was able to understand that.
Oh, more than that. I think that he and I have such a common view of how music goes. That I mean, we do not sit there a lot and talk about what we're going to do because we basically are hearing the same things. I think that's the most important thing. You know, I don't have to say to him, I'm listening to this thing. I'm listening to violas here or something like that. He's already listening to violas. You know, we're coming from the same place.
Yeah.
No, it's been fantastic.
And we
He
grew up-
saved my life. He
Yeah?
saved my life.
That's what second
That's
horn's
right. He
about.
saved my life.
Yeah.
And we grew up listening to the same records. So,
You were a record guy too.
Mhm.
Yep.
The same stuff, the same people.
Yeah.
So by the time we met, we agreed on it.
Yeah.
Wow.
You just mentioned, how about this and how about
Yeah.
that? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great
So
partnership.
yeah,
And what-
to find that.
What about you new guys? You must really benefit from that sort of tradition. I know when I came to the Berlin Phil and, listening to people that have worked together for so long, sitting next to Klaus Wallendorf or Stefan Nitzilski, you've been there forever. It's just a dream.
Well, it's amazing how much you learn just by listening to what's happening and just hearing how well you guys and Howard too, of course, just can read each other's minds and it sets the bar really high. But it's very clear. Like Al was saying, I felt like it's crystal clear, kind of what needs to be done for the most part, and it's so much fun. I
And she
just
can
love
hear it. She can understand it.
Yeah.
She catches on everything. Like fast
Radar
as
is so
you
important,
believe.
isn't it?
It's
Well,
like-
we worked with a few people that were there for quite some time, and they didn't seem to ever, make any kind of gain in guessing what was going to happen in the next piece. I mean, none of the structure that we used in one piece seemed to transfer to the next. And I mean, we find right now that that's happening. So.
And Richard, you go in and play first horn on top of this really established section. How do you bring something new into there, or do you just do what they say?
Well, sitting there and listening to Phil's leadership and Howard and Al, the way that they follow and the way that they blend is so inspiring. And then it's a mixture of trying to be myself and trying to bring you know, like Phil was saying earlier, what I'm feeling, just trying to get that across, and hopefully technically I'm going to have the skills to be able to do that. And then also to really try to understand what, so I've been listening to the New York Philharmonic for 35 years, ever since I started listening to records, and just trying to understand what it is that they do.
What is it that they do?
Well, it's
my job.
It's so hard to. I mean, I can't really put it into words, but you understand it because you've heard it, and you know, and just trying to make that happen in your own playing. That's my goal right now.
You know, what you have to know about him is, I met him.
It's 30 years ago.
30 years ago.
Wow.
And he was studying Juilliard, not with me.
With Myra.
And we played a joint concert. And I actually recommended him for the Canadian Brass at that time because they were looking for a horn player. But their ethic changed. At that time, they were looking for somebody old. Now they always look for people young. But so they said, no, this guy, you know, we want somebody older that's been around. Right? So he went down to
It's a compliment, actually.
He went down to Atlanta, and I just never forgot this guy. And so when we needed an associate on a temporary basis a couple of years ago, I said, why don't we bring this guy up? Because I really think he can do it. And that's how it started. Yeah.
You weren't always that happy in your horn section, were you? Because I mean, we saw you guys in London at the IHS, and it's such a happy section. And for me, I couldn't exist in a non-happy section. I need that harmony around me. I'm so lucky with my guys that it's great. But you weren't always that happy. Is it something you're allowed to talk about?
Oh yeah. When I came here, it was pretty bitter. Everybody hated each other. I mean, literally within two weeks, everybody in that section had told me why everybody else in the section was a bad guy. And I would lie to him. I literally lie to him. I'd say, that's really weird, man, because that guy talked to me, and he doesn't feel any of the stuff towards you. I just simply lie to them to try and get them to get along. But it was a losing battle. 13 years. 13 years of discord. That was hard. That's why I say he saved my life. Because when he arrived, that was the first ray of light, that I had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not much fun. But you guys are happy, and all is wonderful in the New York Phil world. That's great. I mean, that's the way it should be. Horn playing is hard enough, I think, without having all this rivalry and backstabbing.
It wasn't rivalry. One guy just didn't want to come to work. I mean, as soon as he came to work, he was mad because he had to be there. It was, believe you me, it wasn't rivalry. It was rivalry for time off.
Do you still like going to work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're still. One of my big disappointments is that I'm coming to the end here. And there's still a lot of stuff I've never gotten to play, and I'm disappointed by that.
Like what? What do you want to play?
You know what?
We'll tell Alan.
Suite in F sharp minor by Urs Stocknani. I love that piece. I haven't gotten to play it.
Okay, if anyone's watching from the New York Phil, I think someone's watching from the office. They just wrote in, so put it on the program, please. John has asked, what do you think the role of the section principal is? Well, I mean, we all know what the role of the section principal is. And what is your role with these guys? Keep him in line? You.
No. I think it's like frankly, I think it's like if we're playing a piece and we all know that something must be done and it's not happening, then I'll enunciate the obvious. But I think that ordinarily you're trying to develop a consensus. For instance, in auditions, I almost don't want to vote in auditions because I think it's much more important that they select who they're going to play with than I do. I don't know. I think.
That's interesting.
Things have really changed.
Did you know that? No.
Well, she doesn't. They don't know that, but they know that. I think one of you guys must have been you. I don't think I even voted. We were playing duets, and we got done playing duets, and everybody stood up and started walking out. And I said, "Who
got the job?"
I said, "Who won?"
You had to play duets in the audition?
Yeah.
Well, duets, and we had a section also, the whole section.
That's a great idea. We don't do that. That's a really great idea.
Yeah. Well, yeah, especially if you're sitting there playing quartets that everybody knows.
Put some fripperies in front of them.
You get some. Yeah, no, I mean, really something like that. I don't know, fry shoots or something. I mean, you get a real strong feeling of, where the person's coming from.
Yeah. Okay. So, any more good Phil stories? Come on. Come on, guys.
No,
Yeah,
there aren't.
Also,
Yeah.
so the very first time I saw the New York Philharmonic was on TV, and I was a teenager. I had probably not been studying horn for too long, but knew a little bit about the horn world and the symphonic world, and I was just flipping through channels randomly late at night and landed on PBS, and it was a live from Lincoln Center broadcast, and right at that moment it was the opening bars of the second movement of Chai 5. And it was crazy. I didn't know anything at that point, but I knew instantly that was the New York Philharmonic, and that was Phil Myers playing. And it was the first time I'd ever really thought about, wow, look at these people doing this job, and I wonder what they're thinking. I wonder what it feels like to do that. And
We're thinking.
Yeah, and it's so cool to have heard it from the other side now. But that was the very first time I ever saw you in the
Wow.
first section. You guys would have been there, I think. Probably was
Sure.
the 90s. Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah. But I'll never forget that.
Oh, Richard.
I just remember the first time I met Phil. Like you mentioned before, it was 1985 was the very first joint concert between the Juilliard Orchestra and the New York Philharmonic, and we did. It was Wagner Suite, and I was playing first Wagner too. Phil was playing the first one. It was so incredibly inspiring, and I just like to say also, and I've remembered that just everything that happened that week as we went through that for the last 30 years, and also just how supportive Phil has been of me personally over the last 30 years. It's been really appreciated.
Oh, that's so nice to you, Phil. Howard, got any other good ones apart from his jokes?
Well, I can just say, the very first time I met him was, we went to college together, and he was a year ahead of me. And my first day of college, I went to the office to see what the schedule was, and he came down. I mean, he happened to be going to the office too, and he saw me with the horn. He said, "Oh, hi, I'm Phil Myers, I play horn." I didn't know him at all, but the thing that impressed me at the time was he was wearing shorts, and I thought, "Oh my God, this is college. I could wear shorts." Because I grew up where girls couldn't wear pants in high school. They could only wear skirts, I think.
Oh, haven't things changed? So, just one thing, there's all these questions coming in. People are saying how much they all love you, how cool it is to see the New York Phil section. Everyone, Anne Bradeen wants to know if you all play a Schmidt horn. You all play different horns, don't you? Schmidt. Everybody plays mute. Yeah, I was going to say. Schmidt. Okay, sorry, note coming in here. Good. So okay, well that's all right. If you didn't, you can't hear it. It all sounds, are you trying to get him to change?
It's never been important to me, personally, what people play. Never been important to me.
They just got to sound good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the concept's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, think about it for a minute. Really, I was sitting. If you played like the fourth horn solo to Beethoven 9, and somebody came up to you at the end of that concert and said, "Alexander did such a great job on that solo," wouldn't that seem obscure to me? I don't care what. I don't care what. Yeah. You think. Now wait a minute. Yeah. So I don't know.
Phil, unfortunately, there's so many things coming in, but we haven't got that much more time because we've got there's a masterclass going on in a bit, and I think we're all going to go and have some breakfast after this as well. There's just one thing I wanted to touch on at the very end, because one thing that I adore about what I've read about you, what I've heard about you, is this thing of preparation. Because everyone's asking, how do you prepare for this? How do you do for this? And Phil, I think you guys can vouch for the fact that there's probably nobody that prepares better than Phil. Tell us why.
Fear. Really, because if you know what's coming, to me the classic example is Unfinished Symphony. I hate coming in on B. If that's an entrance after 18 bars of rest, But if that's part of the flow of the piece, and I can actually see that in front of me, then I feel like I'm joining instead of beginning. And for me, that's a big difference. Yeah.
So you would recognize that, wouldn't you?
Sure.
What Phil does, well, Lily, you tell me, because you were the one that did this one. You tell us what Phil does.
I sent Sarah a page of one of Phil's special editions, parts that he makes for repertoire, for a lot of the standard repertoire. And as you can see here, you've got score cues going on at all points.
You recognize it, guys. It's the end of Heldenleben.
Incredible.
In case it's not.
Sharing this, Phil.
No. I asked for permission.
Oh, okay. No.
So you basically have your part, and then you have the violin going on. You write in, and you do these yourself.
Oh, yeah.
You do these yourself. You write in what's going on before and after. So you're just joining the music. You're not playing your part.
And it's not just something like Heldenleben. For instance, this week we're recording Nielsen 6. I never played that before. For me to go in there and play off the marketed part would be uncomfortable for me. I need to know more about what's going on than that. So I'll make a part, because just so I know what's going on. I don't want to go in there and just be, playing blind.
Do you all do that? I suppose you probably have to. Being
Not to the degree.
Not to the degree
does,
that.
but because of his influence, I
Yeah.
tend to do that more and more. Mark where the phrases are, or.
It's a great. He said no matter how much she thinks she's prepared, you always come. You've done it better.
No. But I'll tell you. Yeah, sorry.
No. One thing I like to do is bring scores for everything upstairs. And my comment about that is self-defense. The more I know, the safer I am, because the better I can do my job. All the information I can possibly have is
But
helpful.
even something like Brahms' Trio, which we all know by heart, if you actually have the parts there where you can see when you have the lead and when the violin's above you, it makes that piece so much more comfortable to play. It's a huge difference. I'm telling you that if you played that off standard part, and then I gave you my part and you played it the next day, you'd feel like a different experience. Really.
Much more fun.
I think.
So that would be your advice to, because often we end these sessions with advice to the students, because there's so many watching. You've got a lot of friends and all sorts of people watching, but there's a lot of students, and unfortunately they get less shy as the thing goes on, and now all the questions are coming in, but we run out of time. So I think we're just going to have to do another hangout next time I get back.
Well, let's do one sentence. What's your one advice? One sentence.
Breathe.
Learn to read a score.
Listen.
That's what I'd say. Listen to records. Just listen to records. Listen to
All
records.
the time.
Yeah.
They don't do enough of that these days. I think when you sort of get someone coming in playing Beethoven 9, the solo, and you see all these notes, and it's like, okay, well, it's not just 2 bars of half. What do you call them? We call them minims. You call them half notes. Half notes. What's happening there? Oh, the clarinet's playing. Oh, and it makes such a difference if you can hear it in audition as well. If someone comes in and you can hear that they're prepared like that. So prepare, read scores, listen to records. That's great. I have a little quote from someone who wanted to, maybe he's watching online, I'm not sure, but Warren Deck. And
our old tuba player.
Yeah, your old tuba player. We couldn't organize a video with him, but he wrote something that we'd just like to read out. Warren Deck is former principal tuba of the New York Philharmonic. When did he retire? 2002, I think? Yeah, it even says it here. He now teaches in Denver and Aspen. I think about stuff I learned from Phil every day. Getting to bat around musical and pedagogical issues with him was one of the greatest gifts of my life, and it's a gift that keeps on giving. His insatiable curiosity and inquisitive nature are models for a lifetime of learning. His willingness to think outside the box and go beyond is what led to so many fantastic things coming out of his bell, the likes of which I have never heard anywhere else. His ability to verbalize so many abstract concepts and my ability to steal them has made me a better teacher.
Hup came from him.
Hup.
That came from Warren.
Oh, okay.
That came from Warren.
Did you tell us anything today that was actually yours? You shared all your wonderful tips.
I was a good student. If you said to me, what was your one talent? I'd say I was a good student. I really ripped off ideas from everyone.
Well, Phil, we are so honored to have you here. And what we're going to do now, we're going to go downstairs, because downstairs, watching in the hall downstairs, is a huge public viewing party, right, guys? Are you downstairs? And we're on our way down to come and say hi. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for your all the Hangout people. I'm sorry we didn't get to all your questions, but there were just too many of them, and so many people are sending in selfies of themselves watching.
Oh, cool.
That's Jill from Hanover watching. It's really incredible what's been going online. I'll get you a copy of that. Thanks to Manhattan School of Music for putting this on. Thanks, guys. To the New York Philharmonic Horn Section for coming in. Thank you. Thank you. Tim Kelly in Melbourne, thank you for running the Horn Hangouts. And Phil, you are just a hero to us all. And thank you very, very much. And come back. We'll have you on again as soon as we can.
All of us, yeah.
Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye. Bye. Oh, look at this.
Oh my God, it's a trombone player. I was afraid of that.
Okay. Can everybody see the camera? Okay. What? Yeah, you've got to be in it. 1, 2, 3, mouthpiece. Mouthpiece. And again. You gotta be in it.